youtube.com/openupyourmind101.
All right there, man. We appreciate you coming on the show, and we want to talk with you about your life, your experiences, and your book, Analyze.
Okay. Well, we're going to get the name of the book correct first, but how's everybody doing?
All right. Everything's good, brother.
All right. You the man, not me.
All right.
The name of the book is called Analytics.
Analytics, okay.
Analytics, right.
Okay. And where did you get that title from, Professor?
Well, since we are very, 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 I'm going to add a couple more varies to that, very creative people, we managed to use this bastard English language to carve out some kind of degree of communication with one another, since the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said we can't use the language of our enemy to free ourselves. So just like a high form of alchemy, you know, we take lead, we turn it into gold. We use that same process to take this English language and morph it into some kind of communication tool in order to communicate with our people. So, you know, borrowing some syllables and combing through the thesaurus and dictionary and conversing with some people, I kind of figure that there needs to be a whole idea and a process of how we as a people analyze things. With that and some meditation, I came up with analytics.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Okay. Well, we appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, but I think to dispel the whole myth, a lot of people think Public Enemy was established and then Professor Griff came along. That definitely was not the truth. I was already working in a mobile DJing unit with Hank Shockley and Keith Shockley. We already had Spectrum City established, and then Chuck D came along. The whole idea of them working together at Adelphi University brought about the whole idea of Chuck recording for Def Jam, and then putting the whole unit together. You know, since we already knew one another, was already working with one another. You know, it's like a no-brainer. The elements that were there, myself, Chuck, Flav coming along, and then we reaching back to get Terminator X, which was Keith Shockley from the Bomb Squad at the time, and then it was Norman Rogers, who's known as Terminator X.
Okay.
So those are the early days, man. At Adelphi University, Roosevelt, Freeport, Hempstead, Long Island, and you know, it was a beautiful thing because at that time I had already had this thing called Unity Force where we were doing security at parties, and you know, we was already doing study groups and martial arts training and this kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That you know, then the deal came down the pipe with you know, through Jam Master Jay and some other people there, through Rick Rubin. A lot of people still get the story confused about Russell Simmons signing Public Enemy, and that's just not the truth. I think Rick Rubin had more interest in signing Public Enemy than anyone.
So was the purpose in Public Enemy, was it mainly about bringing our culture to our people and taking the message, putting the message in the music?
Well, I don't think them signing Public Enemy, I don't really think they even knew what they were signing. We've always had an agenda, and, you know, that's been our agenda from the beginning, to raise the conscious level of our people, and spread it via the music. And the music at that time that, you know, we felt that, you know, would be suitable for what we wanted to do was hip-hop. It wasn't new at the time. There was already, almost an 8-9 year tradition in hip-hop before Public Enemy came along. So it was there for a minute. My father was Blackfoot, Native American, and the whole idea of studying what my father studied is very fascinating when you study Hermetic principles, all is mental. And my father saying that, the air is everything. The air is the all, because without the air, none of us could breathe. And all of these things I go over in my book, as a matter of fact. Definitely was not raised conscious. Came into consciousness when my older brothers brought me into the first resurrection of the Nation of Islam. So that was my whole idea of consciousness. I had some degree of consciousness prior to then, raised on the diet of the Black Panther Party out of Hofstra University in Uniondale, Long Island. Me and Chuck went through a summer program which taught African dance, African language, arts and crafts, drumming, and this kind of thing. We went there for a few summers. Some government-funded summer program that they let ex-Black Panthers run. And that was my first glimpse of what conscious and being revolutionary was about. So definitely wasn't raised on it. That's my experience. And from that point on, just kind of connecting the dots and just, seeking out different bits and pieces of the truth wherever I can find it, which led me back to the Nation of Islam, which is a beautiful thing because that is the energy and the frequency that I brought to help establish Public Enemy.
And how did your role as the minister of information affect the message that was in the music?
Well, I think that's where that's what we pride ourselves on. Myself and Chuck being avid readers, we'd often get together, compare notes, and I would dump tons of information on him. How those songs turned out is, that's Chuck's story. My job was to pass on that particular information, and Chuck, being the brother that he is with his strong voice, put it in such a way where it resonated with our people, which is a beautiful thing. I don't think one individual person can take credit for the institution that Public Enemy has become. And you would be surprised how many people out there think just like you.
Right.
Once you start taking the numbers, you understand what I'm saying, and doing the math, there's a lot of people out there that think just like you.
Exactly.
Not to say that we're a cult, which a lot of people really misunderstand also, dealing with this English language. Being in a cult is not a negative thing. It's just that, cult is the root word to culture.
Right.
It's just that these people have turned and took these words and used the media to exacerbate certain tensions and put out certain negative information about what these terms mean. So every time you see the word cult, you see somebody getting sacrificed and heads getting cut off and blood dripping and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mass suicide and that kind of madness. That's just our enemy. That's just our enemy playing with our minds. It's a form of mind control, and we need to understand that. Study MK Delta and MK Ultra. Study the mind control experiments that the CIA have done over the years and still are doing. Are you following me? So whatever resonates with you, you have to take this information out to our people. We can't assume that everyone knows and everyone, has knowledge of stuff. We can't assume that. We have to go out and get our people.
Right.
Now it's not going to be easy. So you
got to take
into consideration.
Just work with it.
Yeah. Elijah Muhammad said our people are hard-hearted, stiff-necked, and rebellious.
That's right.
Right there in our own families. You understand what I'm saying? We have to understand that.
Exactly.
I mean, the devil is on his job. We can't blame him.
Right.
We just have to get on ours. That's all.
And Professor Griff, I guess also getting back to the history of Public Enemy, how did Flavor Flav come into the group?
Well, I think from the outstart, Flav has always been there by the invitation of Chuck. When it was being formed, Chuck and Flavor used to work together for Chuck's father. So, Chuck has always had this relationship with Flavor. And to this day, they still have this relationship. mine was on a serious note. My relationship was with Chuck. And even beyond Chuck, my relationship was with Hank and Keith Shockley of the Bomb Squad. So through relationships, I lived around the corner from Flavor for a long time, but, I rarely went to Freeport. I wasn't down with Flavor's crew and all the things they were doing. I was into martial arts, so, Flavor was into smoking weed, drinking, gambling, robbing, stealing cars, and that kind of thing. So that wasn't my thing. But when we came together, I guess the magnetism that Flavor do possess, it was a necessary, intricate part of Public Enemy because it drew and brought the people in that would not necessarily listen to a Chuck D or Professor Griff. So it was very necessary. And it's a beautiful thing how it came together because, those first couple of shows we were getting booed because black people weren't with that. They weren't with that at all. They kind of figured the Panthers did their thing in the 60s. The whole influence of the Nation of Islam was pretty much dead, but little did they know that Minister Farrakhan had resurrected the nation and, it was on the rise. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And it was a beautiful thing because it seemed like the work that Minister Farrakhan was doing, it seemed like Public Enemy just kind of fell right in line to help Minister Farrakhan in a very indirect kind of way, help him with the work. So, a lot of people ask me, well, what mosque do you attend? I said, stop that foolishness. I probably directed more people to the mosque than the law allow. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
On a global scale. So, yeah. That's a very cheap question. It's like, come on, bro. Do your homework.
How do you think, Professor Griff, the movement of conscious rap evolved? What brought that about? Since you were saying that when you first came out, you got food.
Well, you kind of figure when I was doing research and my role was defined in Public Enemy as the leader of the S1Ws, and we as S1Ws secure the fact that we're the first world people and not the third world people. That concept me and Chuck got from the Nation of Islam. The look of the S1Ws in Public Enemy came from the Black Panther Party. Are you following me? So we have to understand that. So when hip-hop was developing into the golden era, which is the conscious era, Public Enemy led simply because we were the strongest at that time and the most visible.
Okay.
And shortly after that, all of the artists that came after Public Enemy, ironically, were from the 5% nation of gods and earths. When you talk about Queen Latifah, when you talk about Big Daddy Kane, when you talk about Eric B. and Rakim, when you talk about these artists, a lot of them was bringing that ideology and that philosophy. It was very rare that you found a Christian espousing or propagating that particular teaching in hip-hop. You understand what I'm saying? Hip-hop was viewed as Islam was the religion of hip-hop, simply because it was one of those things where those brothers, from the street, so to speak, that had knowledge itself, was the ones on the mic.
Okay.
And we heard it. So it evolved. It evolved and morphed into, into what we hear today, to the point where a lot of the 5% nation of gods and earths are there in hip-hop. And you feel and you see Islam in hip-hop.
The message of Public Enemy was so strong at the time, Griff, and I know at the time I was a Christian, and I like, wow, I'll be glad when these guys get off the scene. But I can remember when looking at the news, and I've seen Chuck D being interviewed and seeing yourself interviewed about the statement that was taken out of context about what you said about the Jews and how this thing went national, I guess, and I assume international as well. I was kind of a little younger at the time. Can you tell us what was really going on at that time? I'm sure you kind of covered some of that in your book. Can you tell us some of the things that were going on when they took that statement and ran with it?
Well, ironically enough, in studying and doing research, we've always studied global political science, which is politics, or global political science, rather. And in studying politics, we've studied the domestic policy, and we've studied the foreign policy of the United States of America at a young age. Coming out of graduating from Roosevelt High School, you know, I went to college for 2 weeks, community college for 2 weeks, and I said to myself, I'm not going to sit here and pay these people to dumb me down or to miseducate me. So I dropped out of college after 2 weeks and started studying on my own. This is how I acquired the name Professor, because every time you see me, I had a book, or 2 or 3, because I was determined to get an education and wasn't necessarily going to pay my enemy to miseducate me. But in studying global political science, that whole Israeli situation beginning in 1948 and even before that, you know, we studied it to the point where we wanted to educate our people about it. And when the time came to educate our people about it, we were doing so way before this infamous interview that Professor Griff did back in 1989. So this wasn't the first time Chuck, Leo Cohen, Bill Adler, or anyone at Rush Management or Def Jam or the Public Enemy camp has heard these things. We've always heard these things. This is why I think I got so pissed off and mad at certain brothers in the Nation of Islam, certain people in Public Enemy around me, certain people at Def Jam, at Rush Management. I was vexed because this is a conversation that we've always had, and this was common knowledge. It wasn't new. It wasn't like, okay, Professor Griff said something that we've never heard before. That's child's play. It's foolishness, and it's outright lies. So what I did recently, I put a research team together, and we tried to find the actual interview that Professor Griff has done in reference to the Jewish question in 1989, the interview that I did with David Mills. Now, if you are within the sound of my voice, and you can go online or anywhere and find this particular interview, I'd like to have it. Because in putting my book together, we tried to find the original interview. And surprisingly enough, 3 research teams later, we could not find it. And I said to myself, what is it about that particular interview that these people do not want people to read for themselves? Why would they take it out of circulation and erase it off the internet? Wow. And they had the power to do that. Wow. Are you following me? So what I did was revise it, revamp it as much as I could out of memory, because if you can remember, my house had burned down. And all of my documents and papers and everything with it. So just kind of like from memory and talking to a few people that were around me then, I managed to put together the gist of what that particular interview entailed, and which became the first chapter of my book. So it was critical because it was very heated. To this day, I'm hated by some of the brothers in Public Enemy. To this day, I'm misunderstood by a lot of white people, especially Jewish people. And but the people that know me personally, like, I don't know, the guy that you read about and the guy that I know named Professor Griff, it sounds like that's 2 different people. Are you following me? When I meet people, they expect to meet a guy with horns on his head. And I'm just not that brother.
And I guess going a little bit further down and reading some of the brief comments about the book, I think it's a conversation or something leading to Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Yeah, when the tragedy happened with my house situation, Mumia Abu-Jamal heard about what happened, and he actually made some comments from his jail cell sitting on death row and wrote an article in my behalf. And I wanted the people to know that. Not to big up Professor Griff, but that brother on death row can hear about something that happened to a brother out in the world and write about it. What about the people that I see every day and the people that consciousness level that I've raised? Are you following me?
Yes.
seem like these brothers and sisters can't utter one positive word for Professor Griff, which is cool because, you know, this is a very, very difficult work. It's a very difficult work. I don't expect to stand on the pedestal or get patted on the back. It's a very difficult work. But I thank Mumia Abu Jamal, and I let the world know about this brother's plight and this brother's struggle, as I did back in the 80s with Nelson Mandela. Are you following me?
Yes, I am.
And I've never, ever forgot about those political prisoners that languish away in prison that have fought for the liberation of our people. I don't care if it's in South Africa or in Philly.
Okay. Also in your book, I think you make mention of Baba Asa Hilliard. Can you tell us?
Yes.
About him?
You know, as you know, they don't invite Professor Griff to be on TV. And anytime you see me on TV, they've always called someone else. They don't ever call me directly. So I got an invitation via Walter Leapart, Chuck D's manager at the time, to appear on Tavis Smiley. And when we were talking on Tavis Smiley, the whole time we were talking, Asa Hilliard was on my mind because he had passed, and I had got information that which a lot of people don't know. But this is only the second time I'm saying this, that Barack Obama was left with the duty and responsibility of giving the word to bring Asa Hilliard's body back from Africa. Simply because Asa Hilliard and Barack Obama, your president, and a few other people that I know of are in the Boule, and that was one of his missions. So when I was on Tavis Smiley, I thought it would be a good time to just let people know about Baba Asa Hilliard, which is a good brother, educated a lot of us on a lot of different levels, especially about the educational system. The whole Boule thing is really not my subject, or this is probably a very inappropriate time to even discuss that in the vein that we should discuss it. I want to look at and remember Asa Hilliard as a positive brother who educated our people. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not punking out and putting the whole issue of the Boule aside. I'm just saying.
Another thing, I guess, one other thing before we go into this one point that you've been really doing a lot of lecturing on. Can you tell us about? I think there was a point after the whole thing with the Jews that you mentioned to us in several lectures about the plot that was against you. You had a lot of people turned against you and stuff. What was that? What was that like during that time?
You know. Well, being, them coming after us, so to speak, and applying the pressure, on Chuck and Hank Shockley and Bill Stephanie and the brothers in Public Enemy feeling it, I guess a lot of them cowed down to the pressure and gave in to the point where they actually got rid of me, which I was totally shocked about. How is it that I grew up with you, Brother Clarence, hypothetically speaking?
I understand.
And from where we were sitting in the hood, we didn't care nothing about them people across the fence. Are you following me?
I'm following.
So now I made a few comments that was taken out of context by a black man. All of a sudden now you want to get rid of me. I was shocked. I was really, truly, truly shocked. But because our enemy got mad and angered, my best friend would get rid of me. Mm-hmm. In essence, that's how you have to look at it. Are you following me? So, in traveling and being away from the group, out of my role, Chuck D was the one that secured a record deal for me with Luke in Miami. Yeah, I'm talking about 2 Live Crew, Luke. How Chuck ended up down there having that discussion, I don't know. And on top of that, I wasn't even a recording artist. So there was some stuff going on behind the scene, but I talk about the Illuminati's takeover of hip-hop. And inside of the Illuminati's takeover of hip-hop, I go into the discussion about blood and human sacrifice. But surprisingly enough, Professor Griff was supposed to be Public Enemy's blood sacrifice, human sacrifice. But I survived it. Surprisingly enough. I'm still here to talk about it and write about it in a book to pass that lesson on to younger brothers and sisters.
One thing, if you're talking, Professor Griff, that we do want to mention for those that are listening, you have so many artists that are out there that, you know, you could be out here on the lecture circuit, you know, giving buttermilk toast lectures and whatnot and speaking to the college circuit, but we appreciate, you know, the fact that you made that sacrifice so that we can get the real, unadulterated, undiluted truth. And unfortunately, there's a lot of our artists out there and a lot of the people that are out there. It's like we have in Birmingham, Robin Givens, you know, came to town. You know, people are out there on that lecture circuit just to get paid. They're not trying to really enlighten our people and cause a healing. And that's something that you do at the sacrifice, really, that billions of dollars, I'm sure, if you just watered yourself down.
Well, my thing is, I think on the college circuit, I could come off squeaky clean and apologetic. You know, get my act together, so to speak. But this is not an act. I don't put on. You know, I go, and with the truth that I have, that's coming through me, I try to pass it on to other people. You know, the truth as I know it and understand it, and keep my duty to the Creator via the ancestors. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So you're right. I've forsaken thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to speak truth to power. And when you do that, you know, they don't have you on a college campus. You're not going to be on mainstream television. You're not going to be on mainstream radio. So we need to know and understand that. And I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that.
So what caused you, if I may ask, Professor, to get on the Afrocentric lecture circuit, you know, coming out on the grassroots side, speaking to our people and sharing this information? And I know that we're always talking in between you working with Public Enemy. You almost seemingly every week or every other week, several times, sometimes several times a week, you're out teaching. What caused you to just get out there and really just start sharing with the grassroots?
I think because in coming up in the Nation of Islam as a fruit, which is FOI, fruit of Islam, the military training of men that belong to Islam in North America, I think that's our duty. We're fishers of men. And I think I've seen an opportunity to take that, you know, on a global level and educate the masses of the people. And a lot of times you can't do that in the ranks. A lot of times you can't do that confined to your mosque or your street or your neighborhood. So I just said to myself, if I know the truth, I have to develop some kind of platform to tell it. Professor Griff, in business terms, have become a brand to the point where I want people to understand that I'm about education. I went online and received a Bachelor of Science degree in education online. And if that's what I had to do, because, I would hate to have to sit in a classroom to be educated by my enemy. I think it's almost best that a person like myself didn't go that route. Are you following me? Because it's the people with degrees that have got this world in this condition. If these people are supposed to be so smart, why are we in the situation that we're in today? I'm talking about America. Why are they in the situation that they're in today? You got people with 4 and 5 degrees and groups of them coming together. You mean to tell me they're not smart enough to get us out of this economic situation that we're in today? Come on. It's obvious that the education that they have is not strong enough to deal with the problems that exist in the world. Or else they would have solved the problems. Am I right or wrong?
You're absolutely right.
Well, we have to look at that. Either revamp the damn education or move out the way and let someone handle that. And the sad part about it, you get the same kind of education, the same kind of vibe, the same kind of energy and frequency in the education today if you go to the schools. It's the same. They haven't revamped that mess yet. If you still have this Christopher Columbus discovered America kind of teaching going on in the schools, we got a problem. Are you following me?
I am.
This Spot, Dick, and Jane kind of philosophy that they have teaching our young people. No, there's a problem with that.
We want to really cover some ground on what Professor Griff is sharing in his book, and I want to get off into this part a little more in depth if we can. You started a lecture series called Psychological Covert War on Hip-Hop. Can you talk about your motivations behind that? And I guess some people would think that, maybe it's nothing wrong with listening to, the images and the music and the B's and the H's is just only a reflection of what is in the society, and it's just a person illustrating the story as a poet illustrates his experiences, whether they're real or imagined. And you tell us, why did you do those several lecture series, and you teach on how hip-hop has been, is not in the process of being taken, but it's been hijacked and taken over by people?
Well, I think when I started talking about the psychological covert war on hip-hop, I wanted people to understand that there's a war going on in the subculture called hip-hop and the broader culture of our people on the globe and in the world. And the psychological covert war that was going on, I was pulling the cover off of those that were actually propagating this particular war. And as I started doing research, I started discovering that they were the ones, those that are outside of the culture called hip-hop, are the ones that brought hip-hop from the conscious era through the gangster rap era, through the thugging era, through the balling and era, now at the pimping phase of it. And it actually brought not Public Enemy, but hip-hop down to its knees. And surprisingly enough, in my psychological covert war on hip-hop, I started naming names and pointing out the people that were doing these particular things. And surprisingly enough, I ran across certain rituals that were going on not only in secret societies like Skull and Bones, but they were going on in the back rooms of some record companies. And I started naming some names and pointing some people out. And sooner but later, that particular information grew out beyond Professor Griff's psychological covert war and ended up on some blog talk radios and some websites, some magazines, and even in a couple of gentlemen's books after hearing Professor Griff speak. And they started admitting, yes, they were some of the ones that was there at the ritual, and they've seen the ritual performed. I'm talking about this homosexual ritual. If you study what the ritual that they go through in Skull and Bones, the Skull and Bones Secret Society in Connecticut, at Yale, we know and understand that, they lie in a coffin and they masturbate and they tell their brothers their secrets. And we have to understand that these kind of rituals actually take place on a daily and consistent basis. So when I started talking about it, I had to speak to these particular things. So as books started to come out, I started to see more and more of this particular information. You can read The Sex Imperative by Mwalimu Bomani Baruti out of Atlanta, Georgia. He wrote a book entitled The Sex Imperative, and you can see how the music was being dumbed down and how people outside of the black culture was controlling black music. You can read about the process of the dumbing down of the music in a book called The American Directory of Certified Uncle Toms. You can read about who it was that took the music and took hip-hop off course. You can read that in a book called The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, Shaping the Moral, Spiritual, Cultural, Political, and Economic Decline of the United States by John Coleman. John Coleman has about a dozen books out that speak to the counterculture. You can read about some of the things that were going down in William Cooper's book, Behold the Pale Horse. Are you following me? So I started connecting the dots, naming the names, and then I started doing further research, and I ran across Fritz Springmeier's book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And it's a fascinating story on what they were doing with the music and how they were going out and putting this demonic frequency in the music and actually paying people to do this. For example, when you're talking about sacrifice, right?
Right.
As I talk about in the book, on page 8, chapter 18, where it talks about the occult science. When you talk about sacrifice, I want the people that are there with you and at the sound of my voice to respond to this. Name me one artist on Bad Boy's label, on Puffy's label, that have ever been successful as much as he is. Don't worry, like Cat Williams said, don't worry, I'll wait.
Just for me, I don't think I can know any. I think about what's the guy. The only person I can think about that got a little famous like Puffy was, I think it was Mate, and then several other artists. About 2 or 3 of those artists I think about. Also, they say several artists work with Puffy with the jail.
Exactly. So I'm saying that to say this: they were his sacrifice. He sacrificed them. You understand what I'm saying? Biggie being the ultimate sacrifice. Are you following my point?
Yeah.
My line of thinking, rather. So we have to understand.
And I want to ask you this for those that are not familiar with the psychological covert war on hip-hop. I think that you might want to get in contact with Griff and get those lecture series. They're very informative. And for those of you who haven't seen it, one thing that Griff did was Griff showed pictures of P. Diddy in a compromising position with a homosexual white man, which I wouldn't believe if I didn't see it.
Well, my thing is, I think a lot of people really don't understand that these people are so outwardly with this thing now. They don't really care. There's a book by Mark Curry called Dancing with the Devil, How Puff Burned the Bad Boys of Hip-Hop. And Mark Curry is telling it all. I touched the surface. I was linking that into the rituals that they go through. But Mark Curry is telling you from the inside out. Are you following me?
I'm following you, yeah.
Okay, so we have to understand that these things have been going on, and it's just now that people are talking about it. Yeah.
All right,
we have to understand that.
Ron is online. You got anything to jump in with, Brother Ron?
He would you actually was going headed down the way, the quest, down to where I wanted to take the station, was going to ask about like the homosexuality in hip hop and stuff. So I'm just listening.
Okay, I'm just making sure. All right. Another thing you talked about in your lecture series, Brother Griff, the fact that
let me kind of clear something up for those that are listening that may think this is gay bashing. This is not gay bashing. We don't find any pleasure in talking about something that was put among our people, and our people have ended up with this particular lifestyle. The only reason why I'm mentioning that is because of the rituals that were being performed, and unbeknownst to a lot of our people that this ritual even existed. Are you following me?
Yes.
So we have to understand that. So it's not a thing where we have to sit around on Blog Talk Radio and bash gay people. That's not our thing. We don't do that. We don't do that. And I think those that understand it to that degree and want to exacerbate the tensions between the homosexual community and Professor Griff, stop that. You know, that's child's play. We don't do that. You don't find me doing that in my private life. Are you following me?
Right.
So we need to understand that this is very serious. It's nothing to laugh at. The CDC have even said because of certain sexual acts, especially with homosexual and bisexuality, diseases are spreading to the point where they don't even have names for some of the damn diseases that are out there now. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And this is very, very real. You know, so while you are spending the time sitting behind your computer trying to figure out how to smear Professor Griff's name, we need to look into that. Atlantis all but turned into a homosexual state. It's a police state and it's a homosexual state. So we need to understand that to that degree. What were you about to say?
Professor Griff, you also have talked about over your lecture series that some of these artists who have family members that have been murdered have been a part of that sacrifice. I mean, can you talk about that? I think that's unbelievable for many of us.
Well, the reason why it's unbelievable, and I don't see why it is, because a lot of times the people that care to address this particular thing are Christians. And I say, well, if you never heard of the blood or human sacrifice, read your Bible. Abraham was charged with the duty of sacrificing his son. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Okay, so Professor Griff didn't make this stuff up. There's been human sacrifice through the scripture. There's human sacrifice through many of religious texts, along with not only Christianity but other religions. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Right. So when you hear me say it, it ain't new. This is not new. I'm just saying because of the Illuminati takeover of hip hop, I'm saying to you that certain people that want to operate in the $100 million club, in the $200, $300, $400 million club, have to make a blood and human sacrifice. Plain and simple. Every president has to do it. Everyone that takes the oath and signs on have to do it. And mind you, you don't join the club. They come get you. You don't go get them. You don't seek them out. They find you. And when you want to belong to part of that elite club up in the $200, $300 million club, of course, you have to make a human or blood sacrifice. So what I started doing was pulling it together and actually revealing the sacrifice that some of these people had to make. And I started naming the names. So just to name a few, not to get too deep into it because I'm sure some of your listeners have heard this information before. But when Michael Jordan started getting too big and when they brought him in to be part of the club, mysteriously his father was found dead on the side of the road somewhere. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Come on, talk to me now. When Bill Cosby wanted to make it real big and did make it real big, and the same style, ritual killing, the same way they found Michael Jordan's father, they found Bill Cosby's son. Am I right or wrong?
They did.
On the side of the road somewhere dead. Am I right or come on now?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so I started saying, okay, well, let me look further into this music thing and hip-hop and let me figure this thing out. So we started looking at those that wanted to operate in the $100 million club, which is no real club at all, simply because, what's his name, the brother from the Neptunes. Hold on, let me ask my son. Khalil was the guy from the Neptunes. Pharrell. Didn't he have an organization, a club with Jay-Z called the Billionaires Boys Club? Who had that? Oh, that was his clothing line. Okay. So when you want to start operating up in the billionaire, the whole idea of being a billionaire, you're not going to get that kind of juice globally unless you ask them people, unless you make some kind of deal with them people. Am I right or wrong? Surprisingly enough, a lot of these people are Luciferians and Satan worshippers. And that's no secret. A lot of them don't even hide it. So I started naming some of the names in hip-hop. I went through Suge Knight, whose blood sacrifice and human sacrifice was Tupac. And that's a whole another fascinating story to tell about Quincy Jones and how they used Quincy Jones' Vibe magazine to bring about the destruction of hip-hop, because every time you look at these strange things that go down with some of these black men and women in Hollywood, Quincy Jones' name always comes up. And I'm kind of passionate about that now because I'm studying the assassination and the murder of Michael Jackson. And guess whose name keeps coming up?
Quincy Jones?
Quincy Jones' name keeps coming up. Who was it that had the conversation with Michael Jackson that did two of Michael Jackson's greatest albums? Quincy Jones. Am I right or wrong? Come on, Brother Clarence.
You keep bringing me to see.
Come on now.
I've heard a whole lot of stuff about Michael Jackson saying, from the Russians saying that they believe that he was killed with some type of beam, to a whole lot of other stuff. But you know, something was foul.
Okay, but we're not necessarily focusing on Michael right now. We're focusing on Quincy.
Okay.
Michael Jackson was with the Jacksons doing his thing. When he broke away, he met with Quincy Jones. Michael Jackson started turning and changing from that point forward. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay. Then there was speculation that he was gay and he was this, that, and the other and all this kind of stuff, all centered around Quincy Jones. Look at Queen Latifah. She was a queen when she was on the East Coast. She got invited to come to California via Quincy Jones, right? And look at her history. Come on. We get Fresh Prince. He was fine when he was on the East Coast. Fine when he was Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Got invited to Hollywood via Quincy Jones now. Right?
Right.
And look at his history. What's the first movie that he made?
I think he played that gay character.
6 Degrees of Separation, when he was in the bed screwing a white boy. Okay, now. See, that's that ritual. And if you see the ritual happens over and over again, you have a handler, the handler brings you in and controls your life. But guess what happened with Suge Knight and Tupac? Tupac used to date Quincy Jones' daughter, right or wrong? He was asked to perform the ritual by Quincy Jones. Tupac turned Quincy Jones down, and from that day forward, Tupac was a marked man. Quincy Jones' daughter was best friends with who? Aaliyah. Aaliyah was connected to Damon Dash because she was engaged to Damon Dash. Now you see the circle of people? Tupac dead. Aaliyah dead. Damon Dash brought down to nothing, broke right now. After running through $200 or $300 million. Are you following me? So when you talk about human and blood sacrifice, you know, Puffy's sacrifice, of course, was Biggie. I could go on and on. But all of this I talk about in the book. The book is called Analytics. 20 years of conversations and interviews with yours truly, Professor Griff, Public Enemy. Analytics. And they can just call me directly, 678-557-2919 to get the, or go on www.headquarters.com to get the book, or just put the money in the search engine. The book will come up. It's there at Amazon. It's there at Barnes & Nobles. It's there. If you're walking down 13th Street in South Africa, you can order it.
Okay, we're going to open up this line right here, 651. You're on the air, 651.
Hey, this is Lovely T. I'm in the chat room.
Yes.
I wanted to call in. Hey, Professor Griff.
Greetings. How are you, sister? You all right?
Yes, I'm good. I really enjoy watching your YouTube videos.
Oh, good.
Like, a lot of my subscribers started sending me your videos, and people, the word is really getting out, I guess, especially to, like, the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, growing up in high school and stuff, I was, like, a real big fan of hip-hop, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, you know, stuff like that. And when I started watching your videos and a lot of other videos that are now up on YouTube, and people, like, really, you know, putting the information out there that you can't help but think. I mean, a lot of it has to be true. Some people feel like, you know, y'all are hating, but I feel like you're coming from a genuine place. Like, what is there to hate on? You know,
right.
I just feel like, huh?
No, I understand what you're saying, because the whole
idea, because, you know, when I shared it with a few of my friends, they're like, oh, they're just mad because Jay-Z's balling, and I don't think it's about that. I think that in this society, it's so easy to just sell your soul. Everybody's chasing fame. You know, like it doesn't even pay to just be a good, decent person. Everybody wants to be on television. Everybody wants to be the next big thing. You know, and when I see people throwing up that rock sign, it's like people don't think nothing of it. They just throw it up, not really knowing what to do.
Okay, but even if we kept it mundane, surface, and clean, so to speak, sister, if you're throwing up the rock sign, what is the rock sign? What is the symbol? Let's just say it's not the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, okay? Let's just say it's a rock, it's a diamond, right?
Uh-huh.
How should black people view that when we're the ones in Africa dying for them to wear these diamonds? Are you following me? This is the other thing I go over in the psychological covert war on hip-hop. We're the ones that are dying. No one else is dying.
Yeah,
we're the ones starving to death in Africa. We're the ones at 8 and 9 years old having to go to war, you know, for blood diamonds. We're the ones that are dying. So if nothing else, you don't think people that think we're just jealous or hating because Jay-Z is balling? Jay-Z has nothing that I could possibly want.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted to go that route, from the time I entered into the music industry, making a little bit of chump change, I think I could have gotten those things, right or wrong.
You're right.
Okay, but I chose to educate my people. I chose to raise the conscious level of the people. So, no, I'm not materialistic. I don't want what Jay-Z has. I wouldn't want to trade positions with this brother for a minute. Not at all. You know why? Because Biggie's spirit would be on my soul. Tupac's spirit would be on my soul. Wouldn't be a Jay-Z if those two brothers didn't get taken out of here. Now, I didn't tell that part of the story, Brother Clarence. We have to understand that. The reason why some of these people are in the position that they're in because some people had to get taken out of here. And yes, Jay-Z has something to do with being in the position that he's in and having, creating the atmosphere for these things to go down.
Blog Talk Radio.
So now can I ask you a question, Professor Griff?
Yes.
Now, there's a lot of talk about Rihanna and the whole, you know, she's with The Rock. She's changed so much, you know, and I had made a video on YouTube and people were coming at me like, oh, I'm just mad. But it's not that. Like, I just feel like, you know, she went from this good girl image to, like, she's just turned so demonic in all her music, like the beat, the video. It just was, like, real creepy. And it's like she wasn't like that at first. So I feel like, you know, it's like I feel like the industry really does change people, and people need to start questioning that. Like, why when everybody goes into the industry, they're okay, but then within 2-3 years, they don't cut off their hair. They have alter egos. You know, you got the Sasha Fierce. You know, you got Tierra with Super C. I mean, it's just getting out of control, but it's like no one is questioning that. And when you bring it out there to people, they automatically call you a hater or say that, you know, oh, you're just trying to start some mess.
Well, my thing is that's their only excuse. They kind of lame. Because all you have to do is question the fact that who was this person, Lady Gaga, before she came on the scene? We didn't know anything about this.
Exactly.
Are you following me? And then why is it that demonic possession is on the rise? And we start to see it over and over. And this is something that black people didn't even agree to involve ourselves in this kind of madness. But we're starting to see it over and over and over with not only Sammy Davis Jr. back in the day belonging to the Satan worshiping kind of thing, the Church of Satan, but now we're seeing it with younger and younger and younger people. Now, mind you, they were the ones that said we're the ones in Haiti performing and participating in the voodoo, which in and of itself is not negative. They just don't understand it. Are you following me?
Yeah.
But yet we see this among them all the time. So the scripture says, "Come out of her, my people, and be not partakers of her sins." And we should take heed to it. You understand what I'm saying? Now, can you imagine, sister, I got to tell this to Christians?
Yeah, they be the main ones who get angry. And it's like, but I thought the church said, don't sit here and you know, and indulge in materialism. You know what I'm saying? And look at people for who they are. But it's
right,
like a lot of times it be the Christians in the church bobbing their head to the music.
Right,
you
exactly.
can look at the music and you can get that feeling in your spirit that something ain't right, that people have really changed in the industry. It's not the same, you know. I mean, I've been listening to hip-hop since I was like 8. You know, I grew up on hip-hop. And even when I was younger, it's not the same. Everything is about bling, how many girls you can screw. You know, it's like there's nothing genuine. Everything's a facade. But a lot of these younger kids growing up, they're hearing this music and they're thinking that's what reality is. That, you know, that's what a black man is supposed to be, a thug, pants hanging low, in and out of jail. You know, it's just it's ridiculous, the image that they're putting out here, but it's like no one is questioning them because they have money, because that's who you see in the media, that's who they're pushing out to the people. And it's like, if you question it, then you're just made to look like you wrong.
Right,
I guess it's just that people mentality.
Right. You know, I've known people growing up with money. I don't give a damn who they are, preacher, pastor, reverend, politician. I don't give a damn who you are. I'm going to ask you some questions, plain and simple, because I just don't have that kind of fear. You know, once you release yourself and bind yourself to this material worship, you know, you truly free yourself. And I'm not bound by this. There's absolutely nothing in this world's life that I want of material that's going to stop me from telling the truth. There's absolutely nothing that I can't get if I wanted it. Are you following me? But that's not my desire. You know, I ask people that I meet when I meet people for the first time, and I ask them, well, what is your purpose in life? What's your mission statement? Surprisingly enough, sister, 98% of the people that I meet cannot answer that question. You have to want something. You have to have a purpose in life. Are you following me?
Yes.
But guess what? In music, your purpose in life is given to you, and it starts out on a materialistic plane, and that becomes your entire life. So whatever God you thought you believed in, you trade your God for their wealth, and their wealth becomes your God. So now the diamonds make you. The car makes you. Where you live makes you. Your clothes make you. How many people saw at your concert and how many sales that you have and sound scan, that makes you. That don't make Professor Griff. I've seen people come and go. Look at the whole Flav situation. That goes to show you. The scripture says a fool and his money will soon part. Are you following me?
You're right. You're right.
And we have to understand that. This man was propped up and made to be worshipped and watched by millions of people. And at the twinkling of an eye, a flip of a damn switch, a stroke of a damn pen, you off the air. And you no longer popular now. No longer 7.5 million viewers every week. And a lot of these people can't handle that and they go crazy. And then you end up on a show, Where Are They Now? On MTV. Are you following me?
VH1. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're right.
But that's their design. That's how they do things. They make you, and they have the power to break you.
And I feel like that's what they did to Michael Jackson. You know, they put him on such a high pedestal, you know, and then at the end, they just tore him down, you know, because growing up, after a while, you know, at least I was alive to know the good Michael Jackson, but like my little sister, who's just now turning 18, all she knows is Wacko Jacko. You know, so they don't know that Michael Jackson, who was out here giving to kids and going to hospitals and making these good songs, they just know what the media portrayed him as the last, 10, 15 years. And, now that he's dead, they're still making money off of him. His movie is #1 around the world. Who's benefiting from the movie? It's it's the entertainment industry. Half that money ain't going to his kids. Everybody else is profiting off this man's death.
Exactly. Well, my thing is I tried to contact some people in reference to the rituals they was performing, and the people that I was calling, I'm thinking I'm going to get some feedback from them. You know, they barely returned my call. Guess when they called me, sister? After they quietly lowered Michael Jackson into the tomb that nobody even knew when they put him in the ground. Because they were performing rituals. This is the reason why they kept his body so long. If my black behind died tomorrow, I can guarantee you in about 3-4 days I'm out of here.
Yeah. They
kept this man's body for a while. So we have to understand the rituals that these people go through in order to understand this demonic worship and how they're going to they're going to lock black music down totally. None of this music is going to be able to stir the soul after a while. And I keep telling you, telling people like I told Brother Clarence, that Quincy Jones's name keeps coming up. When I started reading about what Michael Jackson said to Tommy Mottola and Sony Records and all of these people, Quincy Jones's name was right in there because Quincy Jones and Tommy Mottola and the rest of them are in cahoots with one another.
Mm.
And it's something Quincy Jones admitted that he's going to live to be 100 and some odd years old. Well, how? He said on the internet, he says, well, due to new technology, I'm going to live to be, 100 and whatever. So we started studying. We're like, oh, okay, you're going to borrow the energy and the frequency to this demonic worship from the people that you have to sacrifice. And Michael Jackson is one of them.
Mm.
Fresh Prince, Will Smith is no longer a man. His energy was already sucked dry.
Mm.
And the scripture is absolutely right. In the last days, you're not even going to be able to tell the men from the women and the women from the men. They're going to be very unthankful, ungodly people. All they think about is their wealth. But I really appreciate you asking the question, sister. Really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I'm just really glad I got a chance to call in. Thank you.
Oh, give thanks.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for calling.
So besides your book, Analytics, what other books would you recommend for our listeners?
Well, there's some books that, surprisingly enough, I have sitting on my desk right now. And if you don't mind, I could kind of run some off if that's cool with you.
Yeah, we love for that, Professor.
Oh, okay. Not in any particular order, but I think I've mentioned some earlier. I'm just going to kind of go back over some of them. The Black Dot out of the Bronx, New York. He has a book called Hop Decoded, From Its Ancient Origins to Its Modern-Day Matrix by the Black Dot. Writing from hip-hop, from the inside of hip-hop. A lot of times when we hear and read books and articles about hip-hop, it's about people that's never even participated in hip-hop, i.e. Cornel West and Michael Eric Dyson. I've never seen them at a hip-hop gig. Have y'all? I've never seen them break dance or graphite, tag their name somewhere. I've never seen this. Have y'all? But these people are made to be propped up as the poster boys for hip-hop to intellectualize hip-hop. So when we have an intellectual question, we have to go to these two gentlemen. Stop that. Don't fall for that. Are you following me? Next on the list is a good friend of mine. His book is called Hypocrisy. When Lies Sound Like the Truth. Alfried Coach Powell. His name is Alfried Coach Powell. Hypocrisy. When Lies Sound Like the Truth. He's the gentleman that I've got the 10 Commandments of hip-hop from. And the brother laid it out very beautifully in his book. There's another good brother that put out the Sex Imperative. And along with the Sex Imperative, he just put out a new book called Centered. And this is Mwalimu, which is the term for teacher, K. Bomani Baruti. So Brother Baruti in Atlanta, Georgia, I believe he has 8 books out now. But the two that I'm studying right now is The Sex Imperative and a book called Centered. The book Centered is very critical at this stage of the game because Centered is building the African realities. It's a warrior's handbook, specifically designed for African-centered warrior scholars who understand what comes with claiming an uncompromising commitment to rebuild the African nation. Are you following me? Let me see. Oh, this book here, which I've often told people that that every warrior needs to follow this brother's work, and we need to stand on the shoulders of this particular brother. Black on black violence, the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in servitude of white domination. This book was written by Amos Wilson. Now, we have to understand that. We're talking about the psychodynamics now of black self-annihilation in servitude to white supremacy, in servitude to white domination. In the midst of these people destroying us, we're destroying ourselves. Even in hip-hop. And, the 5 and 6 books that our good brother Amos Wilson have written. Now, there's another warrior's guide out there, other than Mwalimu Bomani Baruti's warrior guide. He had put out one prior to that one called Asafo, a warrior's guide to manhood. This is very key and very important simply because as I travel around the country, homosexuality and bisexuality are on the rise. Are you following me? So what we have to do is be able to at least check it and meet it at the gate. So this book, Asafo, A Warrior's Guide to Manhood, is one of those books that we must have, bringing our young boys into manhood. Now, dealing specifically with this hip-hop thing, I'm reading right now The FBI's War on Tupac and Black Leaders by John Potash. John Potash, P-O-T-A-S-H. The FBI's War on Tupac and Shakur and Black Leaders. Also, I'm reading Mark Perry's book, Dancing with the Devil, How Punk Burned the Bad Boys of Hip-Hop. Also, Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, Shaping the Moral, Spiritual, Cultural, Political, and Economic Decline of the United States of America by John Coleman, in which I discovered that John Coleman had at least another 6 books that are out. And, of course, the American Directory of Certified Uncle Toms, which is a very, very, very critical book. And these group of people that got together, the Council of International Affairs, they got together and actually put this book together, which is very, very, very deep, man. And we should really look into what James B. Lowe have put down in this particular book, and along with all the other brothers and sisters that went along with putting this particular body of work together. But I'd be remiss if I was studying all these books, but yet couldn't get the opportunity to stay well enough to even read the book. So this brings me to the other side of my desk, which I have to talk about How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and Book 2 by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Hell, if you ain't well enough to read the damn books, what good is having the damn books? Are you following me? So I have to look into African Holistic Health by Leola Africa. You have to study Drugs Masquerading as Foods, Deliciously Killing Americans and African Americans by Cesar. All right? So we have to study, and there's a good friend of mine that I believe you know, Dr. Whitaker, who wrote the book Medicine.
Yeah.
And this brother is actually giving us detailed instructions on how to fight this chemical and biological warfare that the United States government is heaping on the heads of our people, called the swine flu. And that's all it is. Another degree of chemical and biological warfare, just like Tuskegee syphilis experiment and just like the disease prankers that they put among the Native Americans. It's the same damn thing. Same demon, same beast, new trick. Well, really, it's an old trick, new time. Are you following me?
Well, Brother Griff, I think that before we get back into the hip-hop thing, I think you touched on something that I think is revolutionary, is that maybe we don't get off into I think we get off. Sometimes we get off into the good knowledge and the unity and the organization, but we don't get off into the health aspect. And you got brothers and sisters doing like sometimes they did in the movement with the Black Panther Party and Republic of New Africa. They would be fighting, but cigarettes, alcohol, all types of drugs, bad eating, and chemicalized foods and stuff like that. Can you kind of give us a little brief on what we should be trying to eliminate out of our diet so we can make it to next year to fight the next fight?
Well, we have to know and understand that just some basic holistic health 101. We have a living body. You have to put living food in a living body. Are you following me? I don't care how Afrocentric or how revolutionary we think we are. If we're still eating pig, and in most cases beef and chicken, we have a problem. You can't put dead flesh in a human body. The human body needs living foods that are alive, fruits and vegetables that are alive. Are you following me? And we have to understand that. So I tell people in my lecture, this frankenfood given to us by Monsantos and all these other corporations and companies and multinational corporations that bank are in cahoots with the doctors in the hospitals that bank on you being sick and getting prescription medicine for the rest of your life. This is sad. So when you walk in a grocery store, all the middle aisles is processed food. We don't need that. If you walk in a grocery store, you'd want to make an extreme left or an extreme right to get to the fruits and vegetables that are on the outer walls of the supermarket. If you notice how the supermarket is laid out, everything you need to survive is way in the back or way in the corner. Are you following me? Everything that's bad for you, they put it right in your face at the counter. So we have to understand this particular dynamic, and we need to stop eating these drugs, and they masquerade these processed drugs as food. Yellow number 5, green dye number 14, and this purple stuff and all that is not food. That is not food. Let me tell you something. The sticky glaze that they put on a glazed donut is actually pig pus. That's the same substance that they put on the back of the stamp because it comes from the bone marrow of the pig. Are you following me?
Yes.
These are the things that weaken the immune system. This is why they can put a certain virus among us, and we get sick because we have a high concentration of melanin. And they know certain sound vibrations make us sick. They know certain foods make us sick. And we need to understand that. So some basic instructions. The first thing you drink and the last thing you drink before you go to bed and when you wake up is water. It's best to go to the health food store and buy this thing called Cell Food. Put a couple of drops in your bottled water, and that is the first thing you drink and the last thing you drink at the beginning and the end of your day. Are you following me?
Yes.
The main meal should be eaten between 4 and 7. You should stay away from meat and dairy products. I'll say that again. This is hard for us. I've seen brothers put cheese on everything. Get a damn Snickers bar and put cheese on it. No. That cow is killing us. That cow is diseased. They got to cure the damn cow in order for you to eat it. This is why we're getting so sick, because they're filling the cow with hormones and we're ingesting it into our body. So you are what you eat. Are you following me?
Yes.
So just some basic holistic health 101. The digestive system starts at about 9, 10 o'clock at night. So your meal should be eaten between 4 and 7 and given a chance to digest. So when your digestive system kick in between 10 and early in the morning, you should have used the bathroom at least twice. Some of us ain't used the bathroom in months, which is a shame. We should at least cleanse one day of the week. I say we should cleanse on Wednesday, which is the hump day. When I say cleanse, take a day where you just drink nothing but liquids. I'm not talking about cognac and vodka and Cavassier and this kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something natural. Apple, lemon, orange, grape, cranberry juices. Everyone should detox once a week. Recipe for a detox is ginger, lemon, orange, grapefruit, pineapple. Put it in a blender, blend it up, drink it. Put a tad bit of agave, which comes from the cactus, or some honey to sweeten it up a little. That's your detox. That day, after that, you should not eat any fried foods. Wean yourself away from the cow and the chicken and the shrimp. We shouldn't be eating shrimp. Shrimps are scavengers. They eat anything. You can spit in the water and a shrimp and eat it. Are you following me? So we need to understand this. That's just some basic stuff. And you have to exercise. You have to do deep breathing and you have to walk. In America, man, we have beautiful women, man, but these women are so big. And I'm not saying that to disrespect our sisters, but they're huge. Because what lines their intestines is a non-food. Are you following me?
Okay. Could you name that product that you said to buy from the health food store to put in your water once again?
It's called Cell Food. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, these 2 bottled waters you should not be drinking. And a lot of them will tell you purified tap water. That's all it is. That's all it is. So get you some Cell Food from the health food store. Put a couple of drops in it and you're straight. And you should drink something or eat something dark green every day. Every single day. A spirulina drink, or blue-green algae, spinach, broccoli, asparagus. You have to eat something dark green every single day. And you have to breathe. You got to kiss the sun every day. So, yeah, that's where we are, man. And sisters, y'all need to stop doing the microwave thing, man. Seriously, that microwave oven is killing us. That radiation along with this damn cell phone. You have to keep the cell phone a certain distance from your body, else we're going to be walking radiation. But Dr. Delbert Blair talks about this in length. Just put in his name in the search engine and you'll get a wealth of knowledge from that, brother. And we have to keep in mind one last thing on the health. We have to keep in mind, especially with the sisters, that we need to pull down the organ energy. This is why it's vitally necessary for us to have orgasms and eat organic food, because we have to pull down the organ energy. The organ energy is very, very vital for our survival. We'll have to talk about that in another time.
Okay. I do have a question from the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know what organizations that you work close with, or what organizations have a liberation philosophy that you endorse.
I can't endorse any of them because I don't know any of them to the depth, to the point where I can endorse them. But I can honestly say and be very truthful about this, I work with all of them. There's certain agendas homosexual agendas that's going on in some of them that I'm not rolling with. And if I can't from the inside correct that particular issue, I'm out. If these organizations are just in name and they're not doing anything for the people, I can't work with you. Plain and simple. If you're about lining your pockets with riches and living fat off the suffering of the people, then you're going to have a problem with me in a minute. I don't care what organization you are. Are you following me?
Uh-huh.
So I work with all of the organizations. I'm about the liberation of our people, bro.
Okay.
There's not one philosophy that's going to get me there. There's not one ideology or religion or spiritual concept that's going to get me there. So I'm willing to work with everyone to get everyone, back in the same spirit.
Okay. All right. I hope that answers your question from the chat room. We have another caller, 205. You are on the air.
Hey, what's up, Professor Griff? This is Meaning I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. And when you came down here the first time, I listened to you and your presentation, whatever, and I enjoyed it, then, and we had a little talk about it or whatever. But I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. The first one is, what do you think about Obama and his that situation right there? Do you think it's more for our community, or him being in the White House is what I'm talking about? But do you think that it's straight for him, that he is for our people, he's for the right reason? I want to know your input on that.
Well, I had the opportunity to participate in an Alex Jones film. Alex Jones from Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, Alex Jones. He put a film together called The Obama Deception. Myself and KRS One are in this particular film. And I laid out for about 2 hours my thoughts and what I thought Barack Obama was selected to do as the president. When Barack Obama got selected to be the president, I went on a talk fast. And this is something that the Native American people are accustomed to doing. We just be quiet. Are you following me?
Yes.
Simply because so many of our people was praising Barack Obama like he was the second coming of Christ. So I was quiet to see how this thing was going to unfold. And sure enough, right past 100 days in office, we still not have seen a change. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
So when I did the Obama Deception, I knew exactly what I was saying and doing. Once I did the film and it came out, I got cursed out by so many black women, it's a shame. Right in the streets, bro.
Oh, yeah, they love him.
How dare you not be with Barack Obama? He's the first black president, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, stop. Stop that. So I directed them to a website, which I'm going to direct you to the same website. Go to your search engine and look up AFRICOM. AFRICOM. AFRI-COM.
Okay.
It's a joint military venture for the United States, Britain, and other countries. They're going to go into Africa, and they're going to allow big business from the Chinese, Japanese, and other people that do not look like us into Africa. And those precious minerals that we need as a people to link back up with our people, they're going to be controlled by people that do not look like us. Recently, I did a lecture, and I showed the Thai people in the jungles of Thailand eating black men. If you don't believe me, go to a search engine and put in Thai people eating a black man. I'm going to say this again slow. Go to your search engine and put in Thai people eating a black man. And I showed them how they were eating us. We're going to become a delicacy for these people in Africa. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Barack Obama had opened up the floodgates of Africa to allow multinational corporations to remain there and come in and exploit the people and recolonize Africa. And that's my take on Barack Obama. I love the brother like everyone else love him. Are you following me?
Yeah.
I love to see the black family in the White House. All of that's cool, cosmetically and aesthetically. But we have to look at what this thing really is. That's my take on it.
Because I was.
Wait, let me just say one last thing, and I do have to put this out there so that people can hear it. I did, after coming up my talk fast, I did blast people. These so-called leaders praising Barack Obama, these so-called scholars and educators, and I'm going to put them on blast. And I want them to call me. Hell, I ain't running from no damn body. My phone number is 678-557-2919. My phone number is 678-557-2919. And please, somebody pass my number on to people like Anthony Browder. I want him to give me a call because this was the brother that I was so educated by. Are you following me? Anthony Browder wrote several books, man, that elevated my consciousness to a degree where I was like, man, I'd like to sit under this brother at this brother's feet and be a student. When Barack Obama was running for president, Anthony Browder went on a tour praising Barack Obama. I'm like, wait a minute. Are we talking about the same Anthony Browder that broke down the symbols in Washington and showed and proved how our people that were kidnapped from Africa and brought to America built America? And you can't see this Barack Obama character coming with blue blood, given a stamp of approval by the Illuminati, being a 33rd degree Mason in the Council on Foreign Relations, which is the CFR. Come on, Anthony Browder. Call me, man. 678-557-2919. And any other of the scholars that I'm about to put on blast can give me a call. We respect you. We love you. But we're going to call you out, man, if you're dead ass wrong, and you're dead ass wrong. You know Barack Obama's working with them other people to keep our people in a wretched condition. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And just because some of these people, these scholars get a pass and get a grant and get allowed to kiss somebody's ass in the White House, we want to give them a pass. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that, man. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let me turn the volume down.
Yeah.
What was your second question?
Oh, that was pretty much, it about the Barack. You feel the same way I feel about him. I believe he's just a token Negro. But the other question I want to know,
Well, they needed a black face on fascism. Fascism has a new face, and it just so happens to be a black one. The reason why, because, they have to complete their cipher.
Yeah.
I think the scripture, Brother Clarence can verify this from the Holy Quran, that it teaches that the serpent's tail will be so long and it will affect everyone, a broad sweep. No one's going to escape this. The scripture says in the last days every tongue shall confess and every knee shall bow. And since he's been in office, black people's situation has gotten worse. What happened to the preachers and the pastors and the reverends a few minutes ago with this prosperity teaching? What happened to that? So many people went out and bought homes and cars, and now they're having to walk away from them damn cars and homes. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Shame on you, preacher. Shame on you, pastor. Reverend. In a minute, man, I'm telling you, man, me and my crew gonna run up in the goddamn church. I'm telling you. Lying to the damn people. You can tell them I said it. Hell. It's a new damn day, man. Ain't nobody scared of these punks.
I feel you. I totally feel you. But I wanted to ask you about education. Because I take a look at in some of these city schools, not just in my area, what I'm saying, all over where I'd have been. I'd have been everywhere on the East Coast. But everywhere you look, it's like you don't see nothing but East Side highs as far as, the way the education is being given to our children, man. And not just us, but minorities, period, in the inner school system. How we need to go about changing that.
Well, something Elijah Muhammad taught us, we need to educate ourselves, man.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom sending my children to the devil's schools. It's just hard for me to have my child being educated by my open enemy. This educational system is whew. Ask Malefi Asante. Ask all of the brothers and, excuse me?
I said, but they sucker the cheering in and our community and the going to their schools, even paying sometimes to go to their schools because they have more stuff, for the children to do out there in their schools.
Well, what is wrong with us getting together and educating our own? What's wrong with that? We have enough brain power in every city to educate our own.
Yeah. But it seems like to me the schools in the city should have more money since there's more industry going on inside the city. But it seems like the city money not going towards the city school system.
Now, but you can't have a double standard now. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't talk about the educational system, but you want the best of the devil's educational system to miseducate your child. We have to educate our children. That's our duty and our responsibility.
Yeah. Well, do you know any programs that set up to do that now?
Yeah, take my email address down and I can send you some.
Okay.
It's Professor Griff, PE@gmail.com. Once again, it's Professor Griff, PROFESSOR, Griff, GRIFF, the letters PE, as in Public Enemy,
okay,
@gmail.com.
Okay, previous call, when we was talking about the health and stuff, they wanted me to ask about what about kelp powder and seaweed, and if baking soda with water makes it adding baking soda to water, does it make it alkaline water?
You know something, that particular formula I am not aware of. Someone needs to educate me on that. This is why I'm tapped into sisters like Suzar, Dr. Suzar on the West Coast, Laila Africa, Dr. Whitaker, Shahrazad Ali, and brothers and sisters that are out there that practice holistic health that know about these things. They can email me also and email me that particular formula. Professor Griff, PE@gmail.com, or just call me 678-557-2919. We should put out a hip-hop health book, man, because these rappers are dying like flies, dude.
You and going back to the whole thing about the hip hop, you mentioned something also I've heard you say about that it's maybe one or two people that control the rotation of the music that we listen to. I guess most of us may not pay too much attention to it, but generally about maybe 7 or 10 songs on your radio that's going to be played 24 hours a day. Are there groups of people that make those types of decisions?
Yes, I've mentioned one of them. One of those groups are called the Committee 300. And these people at radio stations and Radio 1 and Kathy Hughes, and these people think that they have a certain degree of control over how this works, but stop. That call comes from on high, man. Are you following me? Because they won't let any revolutionary music on radio. Why not? They never really played Public Enemy. They only played Public Enemy when it was safe. So we have to keep that in mind. And now they try to shut down the internet. They want you to pay for every email you send, every website you have, every time you send a message. That day is vastly approaching us, man, to the point where they want us to accept the implantable biomicrochip. And those that don't will either get a bullet in the back of the head or get lowered into the ground and brought to you by FEMA and the rest of these people behind some fence somewhere with some orange jumpsuit on. It's critical, man, but very real. Well, I think by him signing the executive order, which only the president can do, first of all, the people need to know what an executive order is. Then at this strategic moment, him signing this particular executive order and saying that this is a national emergency, we have to understand exactly what that means. They can quarantine people. Now tell me if I'm wrong. They can quarantine people. They can force agencies, especially government agencies, to force a mandatory vaccination. And if you refuse it, they can jail you, fine you, or just outright imprison you. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Married couples, being that you sign a marriage contract,
Mm-hmm.
They can take your children from you and force vaccinations, mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
Are you following me? So we have to understand what this means. And this could be the trigger, Calvin, for martial law.
Yeah.
This could be the trigger to set things off. Because when tens and thousands of us say, no, we don't want it, they're going to begin the program, which they've already done drills for, to round us up. And they've already got concentration camps in America to do that, and we know that, right or wrong.
Yep.
This could be the thing that sets it off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you remember back in the day when you traded your gun in? You remember back in the day when they came through with concert tickets, Michael Jackson and all these people, and you traded guns for game tickets and concert tickets? You don't have any weapons anymore to fight anybody.
Mhm.
You so weak you can't even come together and use your brain power and your mind power to make it rain to shut down their weapons. You can't even do that anymore. You ain't got a damn slingshot. You can't even shoot a damn piece of paper through a damn straw to fight these people.
Mhm. And
We're so disunited, we can't even defend ourselves.
Mhm. And whatever.
We're so busy loving someone else that don't look like us, we won't even defend ourselves. But I understand exactly what you're saying.
Mhm. And whatever guns we do have, we use them against each other.
Exactly.
Mm.
And then we can't get ammunition. So after your first clip is out, you out.
Mm. Okay. All right, Brother Griff. Well, thanks very much. I do appreciate it. And I'll just continue listening to the show, okay?
Yes, give thanks, bro.
All right. Thank you, man.
Let me tell you something, man. I see white boys every day a weekend in fatigues with a deer on the back of their damn truck practicing. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
Preparedness meetings and rallies and conferences, gun shows and all this kind of other stuff while we partying and BSing, man. Seriously. While we waiting for Beyonce's concert to come through, other people, man, are preparing. They already wrote about World War III. They already wrote about the next civil war in America. We need to stop playing, man, for real. He's talking about, I'm just going to go to another country, man. I'm going to go to... No, you can't. Racism is local and global. You ain't going no damn where. This is it. The fight is here, dude. And right now it's on a spiritual level. We're fighting for the minds and hearts of our people, man. But anyway, I want to thank you for having me. The people can reach me at 678-557-2919. Or the people can reach me at Professor Griff, PE@gmail.com. Go to www.headquarters.com or publicenemy.com to order the book. And it's there, man. I'm accessible to the people. Let's build, man, so we can defend ourselves, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Professor Griff. Any closing words you'd like to say after giving out your information?
You know, as I always do and as I always say, revolution is not an event. It's a process. Steve Biko taught us that. Dr. Martin Luther King taught us violence in the context of us becoming free is not evil and it's not good, but it's very necessary. Are you following me? So we need to understand these particular concepts. We also need to understand that in the last days and times, we're going to have a decision to make, and we're already at the crossroads. It's not the ultimate fight is not going to be between white and black, but between good and evil. Are you following me? Take your research further. There's a good brother, Christian brother, on YouTube, Forerunner 777. Forerunner 777 on YouTube. Good brother. He laid out the Jay-Z deception. All right? But really, that's all I have to say right now. It's not all that I need to say or want to say, but I guess right now at this moment, it's all I need to say right now. But I really appreciate the opportunity to sharing my thoughts, my views, and my words. Once again, the book Analytics is out. 20 years of conversations with and interviews with Professor Griff, Minister of Information for Public Enemy. All right, y'all take care, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, peace.
YouTube.com/openupyourmind101